Today on Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Something I see someone doing something in KnowledgeLink that like I didn't even know it was capable of doing that. I'm like, that is so cool that like they found a way to like build a business on our technology and their intellectual property, the content that's in their head. And I just love being part of that.
A third of the people love you, a third don't care about you, and a third hate you. So you concentrate on the third that love you and you go for it.
I think the greatest Achilles heel for leaders is they don't give themselves time to think.
So my journey is one of those, like there are a lot of detours. There's a lot of going off on the side roads.
Thrive Out listeners, you're in for a treat. We're here with Jamal Mashburn,
Jesse Itzler,
the John Maxwell,
Jackie the Joke Man Martling,
New York Rangers great Mike Richter,
Lisa Lampanelli,
Mary Carrillo.
Oh, how nice.
I'm actually going through the practice of being an entrepreneur.
Pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and thrive loud.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
I love it.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting into the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond, and today on Thrive Loud, we bring you an individual who has established himself as a pioneer in online education for corporate training for the last 2 decades. From a career on Wall Street in sales and technology positions at PaineWebber and UBS, and then as a business analyst to some of the largest firms in financial services, he then co-founded Edulence in 2002 to develop online training solutions for corporate educators. Now, he spends his time focused on discovering the best experts and helping them turn their knowledge into a subscription business on KnowledgeLink. Thrive Lab listeners, this is a guy I've wanted on the show because I think this is a topic many people who listen to this program are very interested in. Jon Tota. Jon, how are you today?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're a natural at this because you are very much involved in the podcast land, and we'll cover some of that stuff. But I want to jump into a little bit of going back now a very long time, since the beginning, almost like 2002. Online training solutions became kind of the thing that you've been working on. Can I ask why this was the avenue you chose to dive into?
Yeah, so it's actually, a little bit, the story begins a little bit before that. In the late 90s, I started as a screenwriter. That's what I really wanted to do, a feature-length screenwriter, creating content. And it didn't work out as I planned for, probably similar to a lot of prospective screenwriters out there. And my whole family was on Wall Street. So I kind of got recruited in to work on Wall Street. I didn't want to get into sales. So I got into the enterprise technology side and I kind of learned computers and systems there. And then over time, I just naturally got into this mode of training people on technology. And that it kind of evolved over time into my whole career doing online education along those lines.
So you went into that online education from the technology piece of it. And I've noticed something really amazing that's happening now. I don't know if it's the wild, wild west, but it feels like there are so many people that are focused on trying to figure out how to offer online training solutions as a component, a slice of their business. Talk about what you're seeing in the space from a high level. I think our listeners would like to just hear just overall in the industry, trends, things that are happening, directions people are heading into. Let's start the conversation that way.
Yeah, so Lou, I think what is really the most exciting aspect of online education today is, the power of the internet has just made this technology, cheap enough and effective enough that anybody can share knowledge with anyone all over the world. And so it's created this whole new market. Like when I got into it, we started Edulence back in 2002. And that was kind of very early version of KnowledgeLink. I mean, if you think about it, like YouTube wasn't even out yet, and we were coming out with a video training solution. So we seemed crazy at the time. And when we did get it rolling, the only companies for the early 2000s who could afford to do it were the largest companies. Our space was financial services, so it's banks and insurance companies. But to see how the technology's advanced, that any expert, the people who actually have all the best knowledge to share, can now afford to spend, a couple $100 a month and reach people all around the world. And that's why you're seeing this, explode right now, where everybody seems to have an online course. And that's, a double-edged sword because now there's quite a bit of noise in the online education space. But it's also what's exciting about it, that it's actually, in a way, democratized knowledge around the world.
I totally agree with a little bit of that double-edged sword. That's actually what I want to talk about. There's a lot of stuff out there, and being able to curate, identify from a consumer point of view, wanting to consume the knowledge is challenging enough. And obviously, as a content provider, it's a very competitive space. Talk about where KnowledgeLink sits in this world and how you're positioning this business for growth and where you're focusing your time and energy.
Yeah, so KnowledgeLink for us, we really built the business on KnowledgeLink, running online universities for these really large companies. And then probably about 10 years ago, maybe 8 to 10 years ago, we kind of had this change in focus and said, like, it's great that you can help all these very large companies train their salespeople and leadership teams all around the world. But, we enjoyed this aspect of helping the experts get their knowledge out there also. And one of the things that's really different about the way we look at this world with KnowledgeLink is that we want aggregators. And it kind of is to your point about the curation, is that our best clients and partners are using KnowledgeLink to go and cherry pick the best of the best content in their industry, their niche or vertical, and then pull it together and then go out and market this, essentially this collection of content, because no one expert out there can create all of it. And you don't want to go to 10 different places. You want one place that's been curated and prepared specifically for your industry or whatever your vertical is. And that's what we really think of as KnowledgeLink, is that we enable people to do that model where it hopefully brings a little more order to the way knowledge is delivered out there to the end consumer.
I think that's probably the biggest need, is the order component to what's out there. I want to ask a question. Over the time that you've been doing this, talk about running the business of KnowledgeLink, the role that you've had, right? Because there is that difference. Being the one to create the platform is one thing and familiarize yourself. Growing the business of it has a whole different component of that as well. Talk about what it's like leading this organization.
Well, we've been doing it for a really long time. And so I started it, I co-founded the company with 2 other people. And, back then we were working together in a consulting company, and we were experts ourselves at the time. And we had this problem of how could we get our content out there cost effectively to more companies, and then never really went into it thinking that we were going to start a software company and have to, scale it and build out architecture and then become a real SaaS provider. But we just got into it to solve our problem. And then I fell in love with just the idea of running a software company. And when you go back at when we created it, the SaaS model wasn't really there yet. You didn't put everybody on one platform and charge subscription fees and use Amazon Web Services and have this beautiful cloud environment like you do today. We were going out and building individual applications and hosting them. And then from the business perspective, I think what was probably the most gratifying was evolving our model to that SaaS environment where it is today, and seeing how the technology is changing, where we can build such a better product and serve so many more customers. So I love that aspect of it. I'm not an engineer myself. I'm more of a business analyst. So I work with our product team, or I did at the time, on designing features, and I love that aspect. But the model of delivering a technology service over the internet like this, I'm just fascinated by the business and what it enables people like us to do.
It's such a great point, John. I was going to share that I in a 24-hour window, I conducted a podcast interview for Thrive Loud. I actually attended an online course that a fellow speaker colleague actually orchestrates and coordinates and has created a platform within that. I then hosted a video interview session that was on a customized platform with learning and questions coming in. And it was fascinating because these were 3 different environments, all SaaS-based solutions underneath it, any way you looked at it, just from different aspects of it. And in a 24-hour window, I was immersed in all of it. And I think it just gives you an idea the stretch and range that this industry has tapped into and how important it is to how not only we learn, but actually how we interact with so many different people. Do you feel a little bit of a sense of pride as your business that you've been doing it for a long time and recognize the breadth and range that you have helped connect people to?
I think to me, looking at our library, and today, because we've been at it for a long time, so we've got, hundreds of thousands of users, and I don't even know how many tens of thousands of sessions that are in there across all these communities. But every once in a while you go in and, so much of this is you build a product. At first for us, it was to solve our problem. And then you start solving problems for, individual companies. You pull it all together. And now, you have 600 or 700 community sites, and they're all using it in a little bit of a different way. And what kind of blows me away sometimes is I'll go in and do like a demo or, or I'm watching a demo or something. And I see someone doing something in KnowledgeLink that I didn't even know it was capable of doing that. I'm like, that is so cool that they found a way to build a business on our technology and their intellectual property, the content that's in their head. And I just love being part of that, helping people to actually generate real sustainable revenue from, the software that we dreamed up, many years ago. So yeah, that's the fun aspect of it. Seeing
John, what are we're recording this in the early part of 2019. What are your goals for this year for the business? Some BHAGs, if you will, that you have set for KnowledgeLink and for yourself.
So from the business perspective and, in the product KnowledgeLink, one of the things that I'm the most excited about now is that, when we got into the business years and years ago, it was all about getting people to log in, to register and log in, because, if you think back to the early 2000s, no one even believed that online education was actually going to get traction. And then you got traction. It was all about getting registrations and logins and a user base. And then it became, okay, how often can that user base, what's the frequency? How often can we get them to come back? How many views can we get? And, a client would get 1,000 views a week or 1,500 views a week, and that was deemed a success. Then you fast forward to today and what people are doing out on the public internet, on YouTube, like influencers and YouTubers and whatnot. And there's no way that training numbers like views and the engagement that you're getting can ever match the numbers that people are seeing out there in the consumer world. So I started thinking about this a lot and saying, we've so much been motivated in training and online education. Okay, how often are they logging in and how many views do you get? And somewhere along the line, everyone forgot about the fact that the purpose of education, whether it's online or in a classroom or live in any format, is to teach people skills and for them to improve on the skills in the areas where they're the weakest and not to continually have to train on the things that they're strong in. And so for us, 2019, we're so excited about it because we're launching Knowledge Pilot, which is essentially an assessment tool built into KnowledgeLink that a user comes in for the first time and you kind of assess them initially on what are you strong in, what skills do you already have, and where are you weak, what do you need? And so for an employer, rather than everybody just getting this mess of 1,000 titles, we can now guide them through, this algorithm directly to the content that will most certainly improve their skill sets, make them a better employee for the company, and retain better to that company. And so I think it's everything in 2019 for us is about really that recommended content engine and making sure that people are not just viewing lots of content, but that they're actually learning something and getting better in the skills where they need it. And, and if we hit on that, then all of our business goals and revenues and all that fall right in line. But skill sets is really all we care about this year, is how many people can learn more skills in KnowledgeLink.
We know you're loving this amazing interview on Thrive Loud and how Lou is connecting with our guest. If you want to learn the skills Lou speaks about to audiences all over the world, head on over to loudiamond.net and order a copy of Lou's best-selling book, Master the Art of Connecting. Once you master how to connect, you'll thrive loud too. Okay, back to the show.
Give me an example and share with the listeners, if you could, John, is there a certain niche that KnowledgeLink is helping from those that are using the platform? Is there more a certain type of, is it leadership training? Is it technology training? Is it ongoing coaching or learning? Is there one specific area that seems to be more beneficial on your platform than not? Just from the types of people using your platform.
Yeah, so we look at that global data all the time, and it's really interesting. Largely sales and leadership content is always at the top. But what you see now a lot of is, the personal branding and social media skills training have really caught up to that. So those are probably the biggest categories right now. And of course, you always have compliance and legal training that they're required to do. But we kind of filter that out and say, okay, what are they electively choosing? And it's always been sales and leadership, but the personal branding and social media skills is cool because they're really, and generational training is really interesting. That does very well on our platform, which is cool to see.
It is interesting. I'm joking about it because my team, I've got people of all different ranges, but I have a lot of interns that actually help produce the show and also manage the social media. And there was like a threshold of what I was willing to learn. And then I recognized there are people that can do this a little faster than I can and execute it. But from a messaging overall point, a lot of those training platforms that are out there teaching people how to not only use it, but use it to drive sales, use it to drive revenue, and use your business as best as possible to hit the bottom line. I think that's the services like KnowledgeLink that you are creating a platform for that is what most people are looking at, because I think they step in and say, I know I need to do this. I know it's going to be a way to share. I guess that's a great question. When you pitch your services, do you help provide potential content providers with what the ROI is on and the timeline of what that can be? Because a lot of people are always saying, I know I need to do this and I know it's going to make me money, but I'm not sure how. Platforms like yours, do you provide that type of guidance?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, one of the things that we created a whole separate division just to work with experts, the coaches, consultants, professional speakers out there that just need to figure out how to create their knowledge product. I think for me, and that's one of my personal passion points, really, because I started as a screenwriter. I wanted to be a feature-length screenwriter, and now I get to work with experts on how to craft their content so that it gets the best engagement, that it's truly interactive, because that's kind of one of the things that everybody's really got to figure out in a knowledge product is how do you get engagement and how do you get the user to interact and the content to kind of change and adapt to each individual. And so getting to work with the experts themselves on how to create good, effective knowledge products. I love that aspect. We don't get very involved in the marketing and the sales, how they get it sold. We help them on how to position it for large corporations because that's always been our background and we love to do that. But one of the things I feel like is always overlooked is that people talk all the time about how to launch your content, how to drive traffic to it, what kind of funnels you should have. But what always gets kind of overlooked is, well, you have to have a good knowledge product. You have to have something good to share with the world. It's got to be done in the right way. So yeah, we love to help people on that because it's really gratifying to see it when it works.
Let's get back to you for a second, Jon, because I know you've listened to the show, and I love asking the guests on the program, for you personally, when you're having an off day, if business isn't doing the things you want to, there's technical issues, problems. I know you jump back and forth to Vermont. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Maybe you're stuck in traffic and you're having an off day. When you have trouble thriving, who or what practice do you seek to get back on the thriving track?
So for me, I've been really fortunate because we have a really amazing team. Edulence is the company, that created KnowledgeLink. And so the team at Edulence and, the team in creative services, as well as running the application, they do such an awesome job that, you hit those times when I'm kind of down. I feel like, some of these obstacles that you have to get over with an application, feature releases, or just dealing with large enterprise clients, sometimes it does get you out of your groove a little bit. And what's worked really well for me for a long time is I really kind of thrive off the energy of our team. And when you see them taking their roles on and, and like really owning it and moving things forward, it's interesting. I call like a company meeting every time I feel like I'm losing a little of my mojo, because then you see all these things that you talked about and you kind of had like that anxiety because you didn't see things moving forward, and you get down. And then we do a company meeting. I'm like, oh, these guys are awesome. They moved all that stuff forward, and you get more positive out of it. So yeah, I think I borrow a lot of that energy to stay positive and keep it going from the team. And that's worked really well over the years.
I like that. That's a good take on feeding off of the greatness that you have within your organization. How large is the company right now? Just general idea from the number of resources you have internally.
Yeah, so we've got 20 people across the company in both sides, running the software and then doing creative services, and they're kind of separated based on their roles. And then, we had more employees in New York City at one point, and then we've actually outsourced a lot of engineering roles overseas, and that's worked out great. So like we have so much a smaller force in the city. But like, I feel like we can get more done, and the teams work so well together that way. And it's really helped us scale the business too. And so it's a great team. I'm excited to work with them all the time.
So Jon, talk about the fun things you like to do. I hinted a little bit about this. Where are you based? What do you do for fun? What has been some of the fun lists that you've set for yourself? I know you're always smiling. We'll show this in our lovely artwork here for the show. This guy Jon's got smile ear to ear that just lights up a room. So what have you been doing for fun when it's not focused on work?
Yeah, well, thank you for mentioning my smile. I always say it's like my only talent. The only thing I really give to the company is the smile. So I got to make sure you have a good headshot with my largest grin. So as you know, from you and I hanging out a little bit, is, I kind of operate between New York City and Vermont. I've been doing that for a really long time. My goal is always to spend as much time in Vermont as possible. I just love the landscape and the outdoor sports and everything. So yeah, for fun, we spend as much time as possible in the Green Mountains, and right now when everyone is, or I don't know, the weather in the wintertime, everyone's complaining about the cold, and in Vermont, you're just hoping the snow stays around as long as possible to extend the ski season.
Right. Well, at the time we're recording this, we just had, a record week. This is the last week of January, just the beginning of February. And it was, some temperatures that I've never even seen before, specifically in the Midwest, minus 40 with the wind or something crazy like that. And I used to ski a lot. I used to love going up to all those Mount Snow, Killington, all those places up there. And then I married a Colombian woman. So yeah, the whole idea of going away to cold weather just didn't work. So we always go warm.
Yeah. You're committed to the warmer climate now, and better for you. You probably will always have a better tan than me.
And that's not necessarily a good thing either. I'm pretty pale, but so Jon, let's do the admin piece. Let's share with the listeners right now all the places people can learn about you, KnowledgeLink, all the socials, websites, so that people know where to go to. Hit us with that, and we'll provide all of it in the show notes, but it always comes better when they hear it from you.
Yeah, so our website is getknowledgelink.com, and that's pretty much got everything about KnowledgeLink. But what's really cool there is something that I just created, is this enterprise selling handbook. And that's like a free downloadable, white paper there. And it's awesome for anybody who is an expert or content provider. If you go to getknowledgelink.com, you can download that white paper for free. And it talks a lot about, what we do with people to get their content into the hands of the biggest companies out there. Also, Learning Life with Jon Tota is my podcast. We do weekly episodes there. It's on iTunes, Spotify, and on our website at KnowledgeLink, getknowledgelink.com. But and I love that. We interview experts, we interview corporate educators. So, and I do an episode every week. So I love doing that. And and then, KnowledgeLink TV on any social, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. That's pretty much where our team posts all of their stuff, is KnowledgeLink TV, so that you can find us there anytime.
All right. So now I knew I was trying to formulate a question for you, Jon, because I said I always like to try and throw some kind of curveball in there, and I recognized the one that I wanted to do, and it hit me not too long ago. As I started the interview, I said I got to get in this direction. With all of these incredible knowledge sources that you've helped people put up on your platform. We see lots of good things out there. We see lots of bad things out there. Without specifically highlighting a name or something, was there ever, what is the one that stuck out to you that was basically how do I say this, John? It was like one of those online videos or online sessions that was so bad you needed to basically interject and get involved. Was there anything that you saw in your entire career that was like, that is so bad, I have to opine and jump in and help provide that guidance? Have you ever encountered such a thing in your life?
So I will tell you, because I started this early on with online video, that I am probably the worst examples of some of the stuff that I probably should have advised against was the things I produced myself, my the original videos to launch the company. I thought that if you moved around on a green screen too much, you would just screw it all up. And at that point, it was probably true. But it looked like my head of sales today, Peter Getchell. He was the very first video I did. And it looked like he was stapled to the wall. And then we did a number of web series, because I always want to get back to creating content. And I show my own stuff to people when I'm like giving them examples of things not to do. So you can find some stuff online that I've produced myself that would be the best examples of the things you don't want to actually do in your online education.
I'll let you know that I reached out to Peter ahead of the episode to ask that question. So I just ask him about his own videos and promoting as a what not to do. So thank you for making that all come together.
Yeah. He would be the one who would know very well about that. And so, yeah, he took a lot of slack for being in that first video. So I would never put anyone through that again.
Two last questions for you here, John. First, how do I want to say this nicely? I guess in this sense, you're an outdoor guy, and if you have a choice, are you the type of guy to go down the easy slope just for relaxing, or are you the one who likes to ski the moguls and hit the hard hills?
Yeah, so I'm kind of a bump skier and tree skier, and so yeah, I usually am trying to find my way off the trail as much as possible. So yeah, lately we got, like record snow in Vermont this year so far. So it's a lot of tree skiing, which that's where you can find me. And and it's awesome. I love skiing out of all the outdoor sports. I mean, there's nothing like it. And so, yeah, I like to do that for our team, is that if it's a powder day, man, you could take a ski day. You don't even have to call in sick, because I don't want to be a hypocrite, because I'm not going to be there.
So as a former screenwriter, if you were to come up with a title to highlight your career in running KnowledgeLink and Edulence, what would you call the name of the movie? What would the screen title be?
This is a funny, it's a funny question, actually. Past Due. Past Due was the name of my first screenplay that got optioned a number of times, almost got produced. But it was the most successful of all of them. And I love the title, because it's like, you're past due for like your success, and for, everyone to know that all the stuff you said was actually accurate and was going to actually come true. We got into the online education space really early and took a lot of lumps early on trying to convince people. So yeah, I think, as a tribute to my screenwriting background too, I would say Past Due would be. I like it.
And along those lines, segueing in to take us home here, John, your all-time favorite movie?
So The Player, which is kind of an obvious one for me. It's probably a 90s movie, so you got to go back a little bit. But it is the story of a Hollywood executive who kills a screenwriter. So I think maybe there's a reason why that kind of sticks in my head, as anytime anybody asks me that, it's like The Player, always. And I think that I think maybe that captures my screenwriting experience overall, and why I ended up running a software company.
Was it the internal version of yourself killing the writer in you? I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, hey, this has been great, John. Thank you so much for coming on the program, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Lou. It was really good, and thank you for having me on the show.
Truly a pleasure to everyone out there. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
I got a writer in here who's got a pitch I think you ought to hear. I think it's hot.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, you lucky person you. As long as you're not a weirdo, make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please, I'm begging you. We're really cool. Also, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Come on, I know you all have those social media platforms and you use them on the daily. If not, find us on the web at thriveloud.com. It was nice thriving with you, and see you next time.